Hey, it's a great day to be alive. It's a great day to be a parent, to have children. Our kids are only this age for a day. So, whatever season you're in with babies, toddlers, school age kids, stinky middle school kids, or hormonal teenagers, oh my God, just enjoy the moment. Enjoy these kids. And today we're going to talk about some very juicy things. Jordan and I are always trying to get creative about what type of podcast episodes that we want to create. We think of you. Like, what would they like to hear about? We've done some really good ones recently. I really enjoyed that one we did on bullying. We did one on politics that seems to be having a lot of people talk about on social media, especially because the election just happened, and about how to talk to your kids about politics. We just talked to a famous author, and now we have a really unique type episode. I asked Jordan, do you have any ideas? And then Jordan, why don't you tell everybody what you said? Because what you said kind of led us to today.
Well, I love all the topics that we cover, but some of the stuff I don't even get to know, and I'm really good friends with Sean, is I don't get to know what he sees and hears from other than what we see you talk about on social media. So, I know there's a lot of, what's the term? Client so-and-so privilege, or, there's specific rules and you're not allowed to say certain things. But I want to know, what trends are you seeing? What's common in your world? Who are you helping right now? And so I just asked Sean, I was like, Sean, can you talk to us about what you're seeing in your practice right now? And he's like, yeah, that's a great idea.
I'll tell you the juicy stuff. Very juice. So much juice, because I like this idea because, even you might see a report in the news, like, hey, this is what's happening or with kids, or this is what's happening in this state, or this is what all military people think. It's like, it's a different thing when you actually ask somebody, like what's really going on. So I get to tell you.
And I almost think if you wanted to, every month or 6 months, you could put out a blog, hey, here's what I'm seeing with kids right now. If you are seeing this, please reach out to me. Let me know. I can help you. Because it changes. I'm sure what you're seeing now is completely different than what it was a year ago. I should
probably even make a journal, right? Because obviously I'm going to share with you the top 5 big struggles that my team and I are seeing, and what we're doing and how we're helping. We're going to give you some tips and tools. And obviously one of those top 5 is going to be about screens. All right. So I'm going to give you some tips and tools for that, just to give you a little, obviously that's not a big shocker, but you'll go back 15 years ago, which might sound like a long time, but for someone who's been parenting for 19 years, it's not a long time. That probably would not have been one of my top 5. It would have been other issues.
Right.
It's just crazy. I remember saying this years ago to parents, when they'd come and ask me, what are you seeing? Are you seeing a lot of this, a lot of that? And I would say, look, something's majorly shifted here with kids. It used to be the most challenging kids were the ones that were, doing drugs or sneaking out or graffiti or violence or ditching school. And we're not seeing that anymore. It's screens now. Screens have just bombarded the human experience and the parenting experience. And so now I'm going to tell you some juicy things I've seen. Number one, we're going to start off with something very interesting. It's kind of sad. Are you ready to hear kind of sad?
I mean, I guess. Okay, let's first paint the picture. What age group are we going to dive into?
Well, my team and I, we work with families who have children 8 and up. And I do all the parent coaching on the team through either private one-on-one sessions or inside of my membership. And I've just got a small team. We provide teen coaching, tween coaching, young adult coaching, college age coaching. But so, this is just what we're seeing with young people, right? Young people.
Yeah, and it makes sense because usually up to the age 8, us parents can handle it. It's usually after that where it starts to get out of control. They get into middle school. They start becoming friends with people you don't want them to be friends with. Then they start hanging out with this crowd. Then they start doing this. And then the rebellion starts. And it's how do I get this lasso big enough to get them and wrangle them back in?
Get that lasso big enough. I like that.
Right.
So here's the first concerning trend that we're seeing much more than ever. I'm seeing, Jordan, a lot of young men and boys, teenagers, even boys that are 8 years old, that are living with a single mom, and they are hitting and abusing their mother. They are violent with their own mother. Now, in some of these cases, there is a man in the house.
There is,
man. There is. We have numerous clients right now. There's man in the house, but in the
the father or a father figure?
Either one. Yes, the father, a stepfather, father figure.
Okay.
Even a grandparent. But isn't that just the first thing I want to share? That's like a thing now. Is like violence.
So are we talking about, obviously we're talking about defiance here. We're talking about a mother who is probably trying to discipline a child or taking a phone away or saying, you better do this or else. And then now we're getting to the point where these young men, these boys, are feeling strong enough to take on their mom, is what you're saying. So they're standing up to the challenge. And then what? You're talking physical abuse?
I'm not telling you I see moms every day with bruises on their arms.
No, I know.
This is like a thing. I literally have clients. I have one right now. She has a broken nose from her teenage son. I have another one who has bruises on her hands, on her arms. And obviously a broken nose is a whole, like, that's a whole different crime. That young man actually went to juvie for a period of time. But on a more regular basis, it's like a thing. There's a lot of parents out there, and there's some listening to this be like, I thought I was the only one. That like, if you tell this young person, it could be a girl in situation, but I'm just focusing on boys. It's like, get off a screen. They'll start like throwing plates, picking up knives. Oh, yeah, that's like, I can't tell you how many times a year do I hear a story of, like my kid has picked up knives. Probably 20 times a year. I'll hear that.
So I have a lot of questions. And before I mean, obviously the main answer is like, the main question is, how did the kids get to this point? But I don't want to go into like, well, at a younger age, you should have talked to them this way and you should have taught them about respect, because we're at this point now. So when you get these clients and now you have to talk to these young men and you have to talk to these moms, what do you do? How do you get them?
I will respond to that,
to respect their mom, because you're ultimately trying to give that kid a reality that this is your mom and you have to respect her.
Before I tell you what we do and some of the things you do's and don'ts, because I'm not going to spend too much time on these 5 things. It's just like little snippets of the inside. Here's like the inside world behind the closed doors. Let me ask you a question, because I like what you said, but I didn't like it because you said I'm not going to ask you like how they got in this situation, but I think you know. You tell me, take a guess. How do you get in a situation where you have a teenage boy who's abusive to a mom, or punching holes in the wall, or picking up knives or throwing glass? How do you think? Take a guess. How do you get there?
I mean, it's a lot of the little things that you don't address as you're parenting.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
And so it's the last straw that broke the camel's back. So like literally just today, my daughter was hungry, and she's like wanting something, and we didn't have time. She goes, well, I really want this, but I know you're not going to make it for me. Kind of like almost doing some kind of like head game with us. So I know you're not going to make it for me because we don't have enough time. And then my wife had to stop her and say, that is completely disrespectful how you said that. Like, how you're saying that is almost like you're manipulating me to make this for you. So how about you ask it differently and say, hey, Mom, can I please help you make this for me because I really want this? Or will you please? Instead of like trying to manipulate me into doing something. So if we wouldn't have addressed that in that time, it's little things like that where then they add on and then they add on and then they add on and then they add on. Yeah.
So we've got like, I could probably talk about this topic for numerous hours, but just to say the same thing in a different way, there's a lot of very good intentions parents out there. They do not want to be like their parents. They want to be kind. They want to be gentle. They want to be graceful. They don't want to hit their kid. They don't want to chancla. They don't want to sandal. They don't want to terrorize. They don't want to traumatize. Right? This is like kind of cool about our generation. It's a good thing. Don't you agree that's a good thing?
Yes.
I knew you were going to answer that way. I knew you were going to answer. Yes, it's like you. But you know what I'm about to say next. But then there's this line, and there has to be a line there. Like, this cannot ever happen again. This is not tolerated. And that's what many, 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 many parents, that's a lot of manys, struggle with. They are too, like, what's the word I'm looking for? They're just too passive. Passive, too forgiving.
Passive, too forgiving.
There's
they don't want to deal with conflict.
There's an interesting video that I saw on my TikTok.
But can we? I don't want to blame the parents here, because that's the reality. Some of these clients that you have are probably single parents. They're working all day. They're exhausted. They come home. They don't want to have to deal with their dang kids. Like, fine, whatever. Just stop talking to me. Like, I need 5 minutes. Right.
And this is why, like, here's another interesting, you being a single mom. Imagine being a single mom and you have 1 or 2 kids. You get to see them 50% of the time or 100% of the time because maybe the father bailed. So do you know how much love you're getting from that child. A lot. You're getting identity. You're getting hugs and kisses and cuddles. And so like it's so easy to end up in a codependent relationship with a child, especially with a mother, with a boy. And it's like, he's my everything. And yeah, he loses his temper sometimes, but I don't know what to do.
But it's okay.
I don't know what to
Right,
do.
right.
You know, one time I called the cops, but the cops they don't never do anything. They don't know what to
Right.
do. So
then how do you
So,
handle
yeah,
that?
so-
Like let's say I don't even have a Sean Donohue. Let's say I don't have, a Sean to come.
well,
and
you
rescue
have to
me.
get
How do
professional
I-
help. If it happens, if you're that far,
I'm thinking about putting this kid in karate, and I'm going to join karate, and we're just going to
Oh my
whoop
gosh.
each other in an organized
sometimes that's
setting.
a great choice. And bro, sometimes it's a bad choice. Like I've got kids like, yes, it's getting worse because my son's in karate, my son's in boxing.
It's getting
yeah.
worse. They don't,
So yes,
okay, they're not
sometimes that
learning
is
the,
a
like,
good
respect
choice.
portion of it.
There's too many. We don't have enough time
What ifs,
for
right,
me.
I get
but
it.
here's
I
a
get it.
couple
I
things
get
we
it.
need to do. The mother needs to learn how to set strong boundaries, physical boundaries,
Okay.
emotional boundaries. Number 2, she needs to stop her codependent tendencies and ways. 3, we need to send a message to this kid that there are some things that are tolerated and some things that are not, because almost in all these situations, these kids can handle themselves at school and at sports. They don't go around hitting anyone else. They just hit one. So
Right.
it actually says more about the mother or the
Okay.
father, the weak father, than it does anything.
I'm just shocked there's some fathers in these stories, because I can't imagine a dad not standing up and be like, "What did you just do,
Exactly.
boy?"
That's the TikTok. I saw this TikTok, and you see these kids, and this isn't like good parenting. I wouldn't recommend it, but you see this TikTok of this teenager snapping at his mother, and the boy and the father stands up like there's a fire in the house. It goes right into his face.
Oh,
Said,
yeah.
"Don't you ever talk to her that way." No, that was too intense.
Right.
That was too weird. That's not good parenting. But then it showed like 5 dads doing that. Different dads, like addressing them
Yeah.
with over intensity. And so like, yeah, it's just, it's so easy to make excuses.
That's sad.
It's
That's
sad.
really sad that you're seeing
know.
that. I feel so bad for these moms, man. That's
Well,
gotta
if
be
you
hard.
think about it too, like I don't want to, everyone think of a child, who maybe doesn't have a strong father figure in their life, or numerous men in their life, or even go bigger.
Right.
Think of a community that you can think of, a neighborhood where there isn't a lot of strong dads. And this is what happens. Like these boys become violent, and they don't have men to mentor them, to guide them, to train them into dealing with their
Right.
emotions. And they become these monsters who hurt women or hurt themselves or hurt other people. It's like we need strong fathers, especially in a day and age where there's so much violence on YouTube and glamorizing these pranks and robbing people and so much crap. I mean, all right, let's move to number 2.
Okay.
Number 2.
All right. That
No,
was a
it's a
big,
big
one.
one.
First off, I got to say
Well,
that
this
is a
is-
huge. I can't believe
This
you're seeing
episode
that.
may not be the most like uplifting thing you've ever heard in your life.
No, that's okay. People want to know. Like, we
Yeah.
want to know what are you seeing right now in our society?
Here's a
with our
term
kids?
that I coined. Number 2 is this. That is a term that I coined many years ago, and I'm surprised it has not been picked up by more popular society or psychologists or authors. The term is called anxietal defiance.
Okay.
And it is a huge thing. It's been a huge thing in our firm for even before COVID, and then when COVID hit. Imagine like a very anxious child or teenager. And, they could be anxious. They don't want to go to school because they're afraid of, the test. They're afraid of,
Okay.
having no one to
You can be afraid of anything.
I can
Okay.
tell you, I can
All
just think
right.
of all these teenagers that we know that are in our firm right now. They're afraid of getting bullied.
The sun is bright.
The sun
it's
is
gonna give
bright.
me a sun-
Getting bullied. They don't like the teachers. They don't have any friends. X, Y, and Z.
Okay.
But it's a huge deal right now where the anxiety.
Everyone's looking at the problem.
becomes-
That's like that's looking at like victimhood mentality.
Yes, it
is what
is.
you're saying.
So then it isn't just anxiety, because you have to imagine when we were growing up, there had to be a lot of us that had anxiety at that time. It was just undiagnosed.
Sure.
So the thing is now, instead of being a kid who, who's feeling anxious about going to sports or anxious about going to school, they'll just be defiant about it. And they'll say, I'm not going to school. I won't do this. And if they say, get off your phone, they'll say, no, I'm not getting off it. And they'll hack around the parent things. They'll start saying, I'm going to kill myself. They might start cutting themselves. They'll do violent things, like they'll just run away just to for a few hours because they know how much that hurts their parents or manipulates their parents. I mean, we're working with the family right now, and this kid, he grabs the family iPad and he goes into the bedroom and he locks himself in his own bedroom because he refuses to go to school. He said, if you take my iPad away, I'm not going to school. And this is like a huge deal. Like, don't get me started.
Have you ever told a parent, like, hey,
yes, whatever we're about to say.
I have a fund, and I will pay to put your kids in boarding school.
Boarding school is like $60,000 to $130,000 a year.
No, I'm teasing. I'm teasing. But it's like, these are situations that are just like beyond my understanding because I'm not going through it right now. And it's sad for me to think that there's multiple kids and families going
all
through
around
this.
the world. It has to be in this country. There's tons. It has to be around the world.
I don't understand how it can get that bad, right? And obviously, I don't think the parents in it understand how it could get that bad either, and then it just got that bad.
I think in the last 10, like especially from 2020, which is, what?
Well, COVID, yeah. I could probably jump-started a lot of that because everyone hid behind a mask.
It did.
They stayed at home. They never went anywhere. They were scared of everything. They were told everything's going to kill you. And so now they have to learn that, like, we're supposed to face our fears of going outside every day.
Yeah.
Like, we used to run around this land and get chased by saber-toothed tigers.
15 years ago.
So, like...
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
15 years ago, I think it was the New York Times did this huge article about this trend that was happening in Japan. And I don't have the article in front of me, but I know that what I'm speaking is true. And they came up with this Japanese word because what was happening was Japan, it's still going on today, is that you have this, hundreds of thousands of young men in their 17 through 27-year-old age range who did not leave their home or their apartment ever. They had food delivered. They just stayed in their apartment constantly.
How did they make money? Just
work from home, or they were enabled or funded by their parents. They even would order people to come to their house, like pay, to play video games with them,
haircuts and stuff?
Give them haircuts.
Oh, like kinship.
Kinship. And even it's like a thing that you would pay women to come to your apartment to watch you play video games. And 15 years ago, I read that article when I was doing a parent presentation in person. And they said, this is very scary, everybody. Like, we're nowhere near that right now. But can you see how possibly we could become like that? Fast forward to today, and this is happening all around the country. Shut-ins, kids that refuse to go anywhere, or they'll go someplace for a short amount of time, and then they come right back because they're so anxious and they hate being outside the house.
So what is our, if we were to have any kind of I know you can't teach specifically to these examples you're giving us, but for parents listening right now, what could we tell them that at least gives them some hope? Like, my thought is hey, get your kids outside, enroll them in a sport, let them go play with their friends, ride their bikes, get them outside as much as possible is what I'm trying to think of.
Essentially what happens is it's the same slippery slope. We're okay, you don't want to go to school today? Okay, that's fine. You can take a day off. And then the kid's oh, that's all I need to tell my parents and I don't have to go to school?
Do schools there in California not keep track of attendance to where after they get 5 attendance,
it doesn't matter anymore? No.
Start contacting doctors' offices,
all that stuff, all the truancy office.
We do that here in Georgia. They don't do that there.
They do it here, but no one listens to it. The schools have no power. The school refusal is such a huge topic. It still is a huge topic that they don't really do anything anymore. They can't do anything.
Huh. So then these kids obviously will then probably not go to college, probably not get a job.
Everybody is just so confused. The parents are so confused on what to do. So what you essentially need to do is first you need to do work on yourself as a parent. What is happening inside of you that led to this type of enabling? There's been so much fear inside of so many parents that have led them to parent in a way where it leads their child to these behaviors. You with me? Fear. They are so afraid. If I force my kid to go to school, well, then they're going to, they're going to hurt themselves. If I force my kid to go to school, I'm going to traumatize them. Well, if I take their screens away, they have no friends. What else are they going to do? If I take my screens away, well, my teenage boy is going to hit me or push holes in the walls or pick up a knife. I don't know what to do. It's just so intense.
Right. I heard an acronym for fear the other day. It's false evidence appearing real. So like we're telling ourselves something, we think it's real, but it's not.
Yeah.
So we need to stop with that fear mentality.
Number 3 trend we're seeing and this has not changed. This has always been there, but and there's a lot of research that supports this too, that transitions are hard for everybody, but they're especially hard for kids and can be even harder for teenagers. And so if you ever move from one, location to another, especially, or if somebody were to pass away or to die or a divorce, it's keep an eye on your kids and spend extra time with them, because transitions can be so hard on kids that it can cause them to do a lot of unhealthy behaviors as coping mechanisms.
So those are big examples. What about a transition as simple as going from elementary school to middle school or middle school to high school? Does that?
It sure can. Yeah.
And so, what do we need to look out for? Just abnormalities, them acting different, them behaving different.
I think the biggest, well said. Abnormalities. The biggest abnormality is the screen time. Are they spending more time on screens than they should be?
Yeah, because that's their safe, their comfort.
That is it. That's
good.
That is good. So transitions are hard. So when you go through a transition, let's say you move to a whole different state, and of course your kid's going to be on screens a lot. So you want to say something like this: "Hey, okay, we're in a new state. You don't know anyone here, so it's okay if you spend a little bit extra time on screens, but only for this month. I need you to still be out there making new friends. We're going to sign you up here. We're going to sign you up here. Like, I know transitions are hard, but we're all going to. But do not get used to this." Do not get used to this. You need to be balancing your screens and out there living your life. Does that sound good? Does that sound like good parenting?
It sounds good. I remember when my wife, when she tells this story, I've told it before on the podcast a long time ago. And she was like 5 or 6, and she was visiting her dad for the summer in Florida. And he goes, "All right, go outside, go start knocking on doors, try to meet someone." And she's like, 5? Yeah. She was like 6 years old. So then she just went door to door. "Hi, do you have a little girl that I could play with?" And just go into the next house. He would force her.
Great story. Crazy story.
And she met this girl, and they're still friends today, which is crazy, right?
Story.
So it's like he forced her to do that, and she didn't want to do it. Who would want to do that?
Yeah.
But it turned into something great.
So another here's like another line that everyone might use with their kids. It's kind of like this: like, "Hey, we need to get you signed up for some extracurricular activities outside the house." "Well, I don't want to. I don't want to."
No,
you
what
have
interested
to.
in?
I'm not. I nothing. All my friends are online from my old school. I just want to do that. You leave me alone. This is really hard. And say, "Hey, no." Like, you can see all the lovey-dovey stuff, of course, too. Say, "No, this isn't going to work. No, I'm not just going to let you live your life on a screen. And if I need to, we will take the screens away, or we'll take away even more screen time. I need you to get out there. I know it's hard. I love you. I'm your number one fan. I'll be your cheerleader. I'll support you through this. But you got to get out there. And it's so hard being a new kid, but you can do this, right? Parents.
We need a Sean Donohue boot camp. We're going to send you the Sean Donohue boot camp if you don't listen to me. No, I don't want to go to the Sean Donohue boot camp.
I mean, that script right there, like that.
Common.
We need to, everyone put that tool in your toolbox. Sad. What you just said, that script, like, I will not let you.
Oh, my script.
My script, yeah. Yours, yeah. My script, I will not let you sit back here and live this way. I will not enable this. This is not okay.
I will not.
I love you too much to do this. I'm going to step in. And that is a hard thing, Jordan, for some parents to say, because their own backstory, their own unhealed trauma, their own fears. It's so hard for many parents to be a strong parent.
The hard part as a parent is to figure out which decision you're making right now has the best outcome, right? So like we're constantly asking ourselves that. And so what you're saying is some of the parents out there are asking themselves that question and thinking that the easy answer is the right answer. But sometimes it's the hard answer that's the right answer. And you have to say no, and you have to look forward 10 years to see if that's going to benefit them.
Well said, dude. Well said. Yeah. Okay. So I only got one more. All right.
Okay.
So
Well, these have
number
been juicy,
4 was
so.
something we've already addressed, which is what are we seeing? We're seeing a lot of screen issues, screen regulation,
Right.
seeing deregulation. Kids are not coming to the dinner table on time. They're screen addicted. They're overused. They're melting down.
You know what I was just thinking? I was doing something at the desk at my computer the other day, and I was like, man, remember back in the day when like there was no computers, and I was like, what was it like to have a bank account? I was like, well, you'd probably get like something in the mail that told you how much you had in the bank, and you'd have to go in and talk to somebody. I couldn't just log online to see the number, right? Or like I was like, okay, then how would I pay stuff? Oh, I'd have to write this check, or I'd have to mail it to someone. And then I was like, that's kind of nice.
I
I was
know.
thinking to myself, I was like, man, I wonder if I could go back to like doing business in like paper format, right? Where there's like less digital. And I'm like, how hard would that be? But how much fun would that be?
I
Like
know.
if you could, I think it'd be so cool. And so it's almost like we have to do this example with our kids. Like you'd have to go through and be like, well, this was the typewriter that I had to learn to type in. Let's learn cursive. And like the little things that aren't taught anymore.
Gosh.
And the question is, what's going to be taught in 20 more years, dude, when tech takes over and there is VR everywhere and people are going to Mars and things are going to get even more complicated?
My favorite new social media page, I don't know the name of it yet, but essentially some artist is creating video AI of previous historical of the past. So
like videos.
So it's like
that is then
recreated.
with
So
AI.
I watched one last night, and the text overlay says something like, "I asked AI to show me the Inca civilization," and then it shows you a minute of the most beautiful videography, but it looks real of the Incas.
Really?
I watched one the day before of I asked AI to show me New York City in 1920, and it looks real. It's so amazing. And while I was watching that, I was like, oh my gosh, those are the good times. Well, were they the good times? I don't know. But you know what? No one has a cell phone in this. And I want to say this. I want to say it out loud. I'm committed to this. I want to spend, I can't do it right now, sometime in the next 10 years, I want to spend at least 3 months without my cell phone. I want to go BlackBerry or flip phone. I want to do it. We should do it together.
I'm going to write you a note and say, how are you? Yeah. I'm reading a book about Lewis and Clark, and they had to write each other notes. They wouldn't get in. Lewis didn't even know if Clark was going to show up, and it was months before his journey.
You're just
he had
waiting.
No idea.
Oh my gosh.
Right? You're just like, there's no texting. There's no phone calls. Like, I hope he got the letter.
Gosh.
I hope the postman didn't die on the way back, and
You're
I hope there's a letter coming back.
Waiting and waiting.
Right? You just wait forever.
It's like, why would we do that to ourselves? Why would we make our lives worse by getting rid of our cell phone? Because
I don't know if it'd make it worse, though, because then you're just focused on the present. Right?
I mean, the thing is, like, over 2 years ago, I made a commitment. I said, I'm going to go at least 1 year minimum with no alcohol. And it was really hard, especially the first 3-4 months. It was really hard. It was hard going to Napa Valley and seeing everyone there drink, birthday parties. It felt hard, like, you know, some of my favorite things that I would maybe do, normally have a beer or two. And now I'm at 2.25 years, and I'm like, I love it. I don't miss it. I will drink again. I just don't know when. I'm just enjoying this season. It's like it's like you don't know what you don't know. So to do something with a cell phone, it has to be so intentional. And it can't just be for like a week or two. It has to be like, you know, a period of time. And maybe we'd all love it more. We won't know until we do it. Right?
Right. Who, I think, is it Bill Murray who doesn't have a cell phone? There's an actor that does not have a cell phone. And like, in order to get him into a movie, you have to like literally go to his house or like find someone to find him because there is no phone to contact him.
Interesting. That's all. I feel
funny?
like a light bulb came on that if I was ever going to do it, I would need to have someone to do it. I wouldn't need. It would be more pleasurable to have somebody do that with me, like go 3 to 6 months with no cell phone.
Well, the hard part, honestly, the hard part for you and for all of us is your loved ones. So, like, let's say you do it in 10 years, but your daughters are going to be out of the house. They're not going to be around. You're going to want to hear from them.
I have a flip
You're going
phone,
to be like,
though.
well, just send me a letter. Oh, a flip phone. You're saying like a
Yeah,
smartphone.
you still have a flip phone.
Okay, you still want flip phone.
Yeah,
Got it.
is that too much? Am I being weird?
I thought you said I thought we were talking about no
I
phones
don't
in
know.
general.
Let me think about it. But let me think about it more.
I like this idea, though. This is a pretty cool
15-year-old's got a
challenge.
flip phone, and she's used to it. She's rocking it. She texts from it
Yeah.
sometimes, like in the old school, you have to like hit the number 3 times.
Yes,
yeah,
3 times.
Here's the last trend that we're seeing in our firm. Everybody, thank you for hanging with us. This one is actually very, 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 very positive. We're seeing an influx of a lot of men who are looking for parent coaching. I'm working with a lot of men.
Wow.
A lot of men. Really? I have more
Really?
men in my membership now than ever. And these men are very unskilled fathers. But they are passionate. And they are...
What age are all sorts of ages? Or
late
what, is there
20s to, late
younger?
to early 50s. Most
okay,
of the
so
men in
over.
my membership would be like late 30s to, late 40s, right? 30, mid 30s to late 40s. But these men they really want to be good dads. And they want to.
Do they feel like they're not?
They don't feel like they're good dads.
Would you say, like, as a typical looking at them from the outside, that society would think of them as just being just fine?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
Okay, so maybe they're just wanting to
these are
enhance
these
their
are doctors. These are doctors, lawyers, dentists, CEOs, politicians. These are like engineers. These are like business owners. These are legit like men and women, men. And they just don't feel like they're good dads. And they want to be a good dad. And they feel like I really am blowing it. And I need some skills. How cool is that? That they're coming.
That's cool.
Into the membership and working alongside me and in the group. And they're doing some one-on-one stuff with me. It's amazing.
So the great thing about that is, like, you're probably seeing how great of dads they are. So you're pumping them up. You're like, dude, no, you did
all
this.
The time.
You're doing great. And then you're also being like, but you could do this to make it even better.
Yeah. So there's like everybody's different, but it's like the membership is so incredible because they'll have these, parents. We'll just focus on a man. They're like, hey, so I had a really good week, but then I had a big slip up. And I want you to give me some insight. What could I have done differently? Or Sean, give me some tools because this is what's going on with my son. And I realize now that I'm just like nagging him. I'm hounding him and it's not going well. Or this is what happened between me and my oldest daughter. What do I do in this situation? And I'll just coach them. I'll role play a situation. So isn't that cool? We have more dads getting parent coaching, listening to a parenting podcast, watching parenting videos, reading parenting books than ever, man. This is awesome.
That's fantastic. Have you ever had a situation, I know previously before you said this, there was a lot of moms, right? And then the moms were having to convince their husbands like, hey, you should listen to this. Hey, send this. So the last question I have for you is, have you ever had a dad come and be like, hey, will you convince my wife to listen to some of your stuff too? Or are the wives usually all on board?
No, there's definitely happens. And that's definitely happens. And that's like another cool thing too. Like that there's dads that are taking the lead in parenting, because in most homes,
that's awesome.
Including my home, my wife Danielle, she kind of takes the lead in parenting. Like she's like, I kind of submit to her leadership and like, let her like call the shots.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I'd say I'm the same way
Because she stays home and she works from home, and that's just the dynamic. It just felt right to me from the beginning. I knew I could learn a lot. Now, does that mean does that mean that I parent like her, or I'm like a feminine parent? No way. Like I'm a strong masculine dad parent. But it's like, I feel like, doesn't that sound healthy to like look at your wife and let her take the lead in a lot of things?
Well, yeah, and especially if they're like rocking it, you're like, oh man, I don't even need to step in right now because you're freaking rocking this.
Yes.
So it's like I'm good. Where do you see? So that this was in the last 5 to 10 years you've seen this big shift.
These are shifts from the last few years. Yeah, it's just like 2 years.
Okay, a few years. Any foresight? Where are we going from this point forward? I love the dad thing. So I'm going to say that maybe we're going to see more dads in the future and more parents getting more awareness around this problem. I think we're going to start hearing about it more with the political jargon. I think we're going to start seeing advertisements more. This is my prediction. I think the kid and the focal points of our youth is going to be a big talking point in the next 5 years or so, because I think it's in a really unhealthy state.
So here's a couple of predictions. First off, many private schools have already moved to phone-free schools.
Yes, they have.
And now we have
That's right.
public schools coming in 2025 all around the country, including LA Unified School District and New York Unified School District. They're moving to phone-free schools. That is exciting.
That is exciting. That's huge. I thought it would take longer. I'm glad that they're able to get this now.
This prediction is going to be a little bit longer to take place, but more and more people are finally figuring out that giving your child a Google Chromebook or having a school-issued Google Chromebook is a horrible idea.
I know, but schools are doing that. What are
They've
you
been doing
supposed
it
to
for a
do?
long time. It's all about money. It's all about money. Follow the dollar. What are you supposed to do? Well, we're seeing. I predict we're going to see a trend away from school-issued computers because it's trash idea.
But they do like stay at home. Like today, a lot of the kids in my school district are home, so they're doing school or at home learning for today. What do they do in the future?
The
Maybe they just
future
won't
is
do
that they're going to be computers that are legitly only for school. There's no YouTube allowed on the computer.
Oh, I like
And
that.
parents-
Yeah, there's only like 2
Yeah,
applications.
there's only
on it.
they're school-only computers. That is the future. And we need a lot to happen. Or you don't need to wait. You could actually make your kid's laptop a school-only computer today. You would just need to purchase some parenting program and make it so that they can only access a few websites. That is the future. And this is why Google screwed us so much, is that it's very challenging to block YouTube on a school-issued Google Chrome. Because guess
that
who
makes
owns
sense.
YouTube? Right?
Right. That's tough. You're right. Follow the
Follow
money.
the money.
Gosh, that's dirty.
So dirty.
That is
So dirty. So the new normal is there going to be phone-free schools and computers that are at home that are only for school too. Isn't that exciting?
That is exciting. When I was a kid, we had one computer in the house, and it was old school Dell. It'd take forever to log in, and it was in the living room so everyone can see what you were on. Yeah, with these laptops and iPads, you could lock yourself in a room, and who knows what the kids are doing on them.
And I don't know if I had any predictions about our government because it's just so slow. I'd like to believe that the government is going to get involved. And
In what way? With parenting or with
kids
in
and
schools? What do you mean?
screens and like pornography and just all the crap on, YouTube. I'd like to believe that in the future there's going to be like more age restrictions. So like, you have to be 16 to watch this content creator, for example. Like there's going to be, whether it be YouTube does it itself, which why would it? It wouldn't do that because it's all about the money. I'd like to hope that there's going to be some type of system around like social media and like guidelines around that.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
That'd be good because right now it's the Wild West. I mean, you
is.
got YouTube Kids and there's some kids stuff, but even on those kids platforms, you'll be like, "What did
Even
I just
on
hear
that,
on
yeah.
there? Like, I thought this was supposed to be for youngins, and apparently it's not."
Yeah.
A rating system, or those are great projections, man, and predictions. I hope a lot of them, the good ones come true, right? I hope that we see a turn, and we can start getting our youth healthy again.
Thanks for joining Jordan and I today, man. Thanks for letting me share what I'm seeing inside of my practice with my firm. If you want to learn more, go to parentingmodernteens.com. Join me in my membership or book some private time with me or look at some of the resources there. Jordan, thanks for being a good friend, for just helping me and helping so many parents, for just joining us today, man.